What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And today, we're speaking the language of bromance. Shawn, I feel like this is a running theme with me, but I am going to school you on history once again. I feel like anymore this should just be it. Because like we're always like, oh, we should find something to talk about. And I invariably search for weird and odd history. You know why? It's my mother's milk, Shawn.
History's weird. That's where a lot of our bread and butters come from.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. You're like, hey, do you ever think you'd find about a lesbian sword fighter in the 1600s that was a pirate? Well, guess what? There was.
Yep.
Like, that's crazy. What else did she do? Burn down a nunnery.
Yep.
And then took her lesbian girlfriend back to her parents because she annoyed her.
Yeah. Get the fuck out. It's a great story. So another thing I like about history is you always hear words and you never think to wonder, like, where did the origin of these words come from? You know, like you say a word and you never think in your head, just odd sounding words, right?
Like road.
Yep. That's yeah. All roads lead to ohm. Exactly right. So Shawn, this week I'm going to teach you about history, a little bit about religion.
Oh.
A little bit about the meaning of the words clink. Not like Colonel Clink from Hogan's Heroes. Like, God, did I just date myself with that?
Yeah,
did I just date myself with that reference?
A little bit. Like whenever you throw something off metal and it goes clink.
No, like throw them in the clink.
Oh, like jail.
Yeah. You ever wonder, do you know that? You ever wonder, like, hey, why do we call it the clink?
That's something I haven't heard in a while. Like if you would have said, Shawn, what's like 10 things you can think of for clink? I don't think jail would be one of them.
But you know what I'm talking about. You've heard that before, though, right?
Throw you in the clink.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm also gonna I'm gonna save, but there's another term. I'm gonna save that one for later. So, Shawn, I'm gonna talk to you about an area in Southwark, which is in London.
Oh,
well, it's
London.
Opposite London. Yeah,
Hello,
bonny old
Governor.
London. And it's an area called the Liberty of the Clink.
LOT. A lot. That's a lot. Is that where the word lot comes from?
That's exactly it. You nailed it.
Did they call the prostitutes there lot lizards?
Funny thing you should mention prostitutes, Shawn. The Liberty of the Clink was an area in Southwark on the south bank of the River Thames opposite the city of London. Although situated in Surrey, the Liberty was exempt from the jurisdiction of the county's high sheriff and was under the jurisdiction of the Bishop of Winchester.
So what's a Bishop of Winchester? What's that the equivalent to, like, here in the States? Is that like a mayor or like a governor or county sheriff?
Well, I mean, it's a bishop. I am uncertain if this bishop is Catholic or if this bishop is
like
Church of England.
I was thinking like
because this would have been post Henry VIII. You know, because Henry VIII was all like, "Hey, I don't like my wives. I want to divorce them," and the Catholic Church was like, "No, you can't do that." And then Henry VIII was like, "Well, fuck you. I'll start my own goddamn church, and we'll call it crazy. I want to divorce my wife church." And then somebody was like, "Call it Church of England." And he's like, "Yeah. And I'm going to call it Church of England."
It's basically Catholicism, except guess what? We can divorce our bitchy ass wives.
It's exactly it, Shawn.
Because he divorced all of his wives because they couldn't give him a son, right? Even though that's kind of,
I think it was because he was crazy, because like he was like, "I want to divorce my wives," and then he just started, chopping their heads off.
Well, I mean, the Catholic Church is like, no, they have to be dead. It's till death do you part. And like, oh, really?
Till death does their head part. Ha! Somebody write that down.
Got him.
Get that Will Shakespeare in here.
Get that Partridge and write it down.
So if you've ever read the works of the 14th century poet Geoffrey Chaucer, you'll know that medieval England was full of naughty behavior and loose morals.
Why? Is that because they got rid of the Catholic Church?
Yeah, that's what happens.
It's like, this is Church of England. It's just like cats. Like, well, what about that whole like not banging your neighbor thing? Hey, let's throw that out too.
Fuck that.
Public masturbation? Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Church
I got
of
nothing to do today.
Do you think that was on the signs? Like, hey, do you want to masturbate in public? Come to the Church of England.
I feel like the Church of England.
To the Church of England.
I feel like I'm totally disparaging the Church of England right now because, like, they exist. Like, the Anglican Church is a thing. Like, there's Anglican churches in the U.S. I feel like I'm totally disparaging it now. But there is a part of me that feels like the entire church was, like, formed by just somebody, like, taking a vote. It's like some guy standing in the middle with a piece of paper and a pen. And he's like, all right, what do you guys want? And be like, divorce our wives. All right, number 1, divorce our wives. Chop their heads off. I don't know if we can put that, but
maybe an amendment.
I don't know.
Well, maybe.
I'll write it really, really small and people can try and figure it out.
Well, let's get that Shakespeare in here. Maybe have him kind of tweak it a little bit so it could be interpreted one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what did Shakespeare do? Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. Do you know there's well, at least I don't know if it's a rumor or not, but my English professor kind of told me this. He was saying that he thinks that the King James Bible was written by William Shakespeare.
You know what? I've actually heard that. I've heard that is a persistent undercurrent conspiracy rumor.
And then also that there was like multiple William Shakespeares, like it wasn't one person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've heard that too, because I subscribe to the same crazy, weird, batshit stuff that you do.
Yeah, it's that Reddit thread that we just keep following.
It's our mother's milk, Shawn. It's like history. It's my mother's milk. I just suckle that teat for everything it's worth. That lewdness was a feature of life in London when Chaucer was writing. If you were a young man who wanted some fun, you could probably take a stroll across London Bridge, the only bridge in the city at the time, and enter the borough of Southwark and the south bank of the River Thames.
Oh, shit, Richard. Is this where the song came from? It's like, London Bridge is falling down, falling down. You know what's falling down, Richard? Their morals. Their morals were falling down.
Their pants is falling down.
The Pope
them
is
bitches
like
dropping drawers. What?
The Pope is like, listen, they're starting up their own religion. We got to make up a catchy tune that'll bring them back.
Yeah. And then somebody's like, WAP. It's like, no, that's too soon.
I just heard that song.
We're like 600 years too early on that, guys.
Yeah. Google that, kids. Might want to be 18 plus.
This is where all the good bars, theaters, and stews, which is apparently what the term for brothels were then.
I'm trying to think if that's hot or kind of like, because stew really feels kind of like muggy and like, like humid. Like you walk in.
No, it feels good. It feels nice. It feels comforting. Sit on the couch with a bowl of stew. Sounds good. It's good for the soul. It nourishes your body and it nourishes your heart.
Yeah. And clogs your arteries.
Don't be so negative. Stew is great.
I do like a good stew.
Right? You sit down. It's like cold outside.
Soup is like very underrated.
Right? Cold outside and you're sitting on the couch.
Yeah. Ooh. There's like this cheddar potato soup I get. It's really good. You throw some Ritz crackers in it. Oof. That's living.
I just had soup tonight.
I had Popeye's chicken, which wasn't bad.
Yeah, I have actually. Okay, so confession time, and I know we're gonna get hate tweets over this. I have never eaten Popeye's chicken.
Their chicken tenders are good. Their chicken sandwich is pretty good. There is a local restaurant though that has a chicken sandwich that is far superior.
Far superior.
Yes.
Oh my god!
And honestly, I think
big words.
I need to have it soon. It's local. It's like $3 more too, and it's much bigger chicken.
Okay. All right. Okay. So Southwark, or the Clink is where the theaters and stews could be found. But you didn't have to look too hard. The moment our young medieval chap set foot off the bridge, jingling the change in his pocket, he'd have been assaulted by prostitutes from all directions and at all hours of the day.
Ah, so it was the clinking of the change?
Maybe. Well, so there's this area called the Clink, or Liberty of the Clink. The actual name, the Clink, was for the jail in the area.
So who went to the Clink? Did you pay money to a cop and they took you to the Clink and you got a bee jibber?
Maybe. But see, here's the thing is the Liberty lay outside the jurisdiction of the city of London and that of the county authorities of Surrey. In 1161, the bishop, who was Bishop Henry of Blois, and like I said, I am not sure whether this bishop was Church of England or Catholic, but the bishop was granted power to license prostitutes and brothels in the Liberty by King Henry II.
Good Bible.
So the bishop owned the brothels.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to have those sinners, and they come in and they repent, and you're like, it's okay. How much did you pay for that prostitute? 76 cents. All right, well, give me $3. $3?
Yeah. That's tithing.
Yeah. I started a joke today. I'll give credit. It was Kevin Smith's grandpa. And I probably won't do it well, but it was basically, do you know why the church asked for so much money?
Why?
Because the guy at the head has a hole in his hands.
Ah.
Because it was Jesus.
Yeah, and he's got holes from the nails.
Do you think that's a Church of England approved joke? Like Catholics, I can see being like, nope. But Church of England's like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. I'll write it down. Put it on the list. So the Bishop of Winchester was granted the license to open these brothels. So the Bishop of Winchester owns the biggest brothels pretty much in the London area. So good job to be a bishop, right? Let's see. Their competitive screeching, meaning the prostitutes, because they would, because you'd walk across the bridge and then all of a sudden all these prostitutes are like, pick me. No, pick me.
That you probably feel like the most popular kid in school when that happens.
Yeah.
It's probably like, I've never been, but it's probably like when you go to a strip club and all the girls are like, hey, you want a lap dance?
You've never been to a strip club?
Never in my life. Not 4 times.
Me neither.
8 times.
Their competitive screeching. So the competitive screeching from the prostitutes, the women were given a moniker. They were called geese.
Oh, because they're like,
because yeah.
Is that because they had wings?
So they started out being called geese. Then they were being called Winchester geese. The competitive screeching gave them the name geese. The reason was that the brothels and their female workers fell under the jurisdiction of the Bishop of Winchester. He was the local landlord.
Is that why?
I think they need to end this sentence. He was the local landlord / pimp.
Yeah, basic. Oh, maybe that's where they got like the big pimp cane. Because didn't bishops and stuff have like their canes and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. See, now I'm picturing like this guy in like the 1300s with like a big furry coat and he's wearing the little bishop hat and he's like walking down.
You geese got my money.
Jesus want his money. Get Jesus his money.
I was going to say, do you think that's why like when you're having sex, you yell, oh God, because back in this day, like, oh, if you're a part of Church of England, when you do this, because it's for the Lord, you have to yell, oh God, oh God.
Far from being displeased by the presence of these houses, the good bishop taxed them with gusto and recorded in the court rolls. So he's taxing the brothels, and he's also making sure that he keeps records.
Blackmail.
You can still see the remains of the 12th century Winchester Palace today in Southwark. The bishop took his title from the city of Winchester, which had been the capital of England during the Saxon and early medieval period. London, however, emerged as the top city, and the bishop's most impressive residence was what we see as a sad remnant of today, Southwark Cathedral, which is part of a large complex of religious buildings and is still there, though heavily restored. And the Clink was the bishop's prison, which continued to serve as a criminal lockup until the 18th century.
Oh, wow. Because you said this was like the 1100s, so that's like 700 years?
Yeah.
Dang. That's what's crazy to think about. Like, if you go over to England, like, yeah, that's our oldest building. Like, oh, wow, when was that? 1100 BC.
Right? So, where was it? There was a bar. There's a bar in, Ireland. And, apparently the bar has been around, has operated as a bar and been around since like 1100 AD.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's considered like the oldest bar in existence.
Oldest
and like you go to like,
well, I guess, yeah.
like you go to like a historic building in the US and they're like, oh, we've just restored this. So that way, you know, it looks like it did way, way back in 1950.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? 1950? Oh my God.
Well, it depends
That's
on
amazing.
Like, you go to the East Coast, it's like, this building's from 1893. You're like, wow, that's old. You go to like
oh
California.
my gosh, 1890.
Yeah.
Was what they do, just bang rocks together back then? How did they make buildings?
What was the Wi-Fi password then? And you go like California, the oldest building's like, hey, this is from like 2002.
We're gonna make it a parking lot. Take a good look. But yeah, then you fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and they're like, oh, this wall here, this wall's been around since, you know, before Christ.
Mm-hmm. Like, how do you know? It says right there, 30 BC.
Yeah. See that little that little bit of graffiti that said JC was here? Yeah. You know who that was? Jesus? I don't know. I wasn't around.
I didn't know Jesus made it all the way to the Clink.
He would have. So the women plied their trade and unfortunately, on occasion, contracted and spread venereal disease.
It happens. I heard that like the whole shaving of the genitalia type stuff, that started to like reduce the risk of pubic lice, crabs.
Really?
That's what I've heard. That may not be real.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they can't grab onto anything.
Do you notice that? Okay, so like I kind of get why, like in like say like the 70s, you know, like things were very unkempt. I don't want to say unkempt. Things were, you know, maintained, but you know, not like today. But it seems like, was there like a big outbreak of genital lice in the 80s, and that's why everybody started shaving everything?
Yeah. No, I think it's a lot of just like marketing, because it used to be like what's it called when you have cold sores downstairs? Or herpes?
Yes.
Like herpes in like the 30s and 40s wasn't a big thing. Like people who get cold sores today, that's what they thought of about herpes downstairs. It wasn't until they developed drugs and stuff for it that they're like, oh my gosh, we need to make this like out to be a bad thing, so you have to buy these drugs. So like shaving and stuff didn't become a big thing until like the marketing stuff started like saying like, oh, you know, wearing mini skirts and women have to shave and all this other stuff. It used to be like women just had as hairy leg as dudes. Armpit hair, that was a thing.
Does that bother you a lot?
You know, if you think about it deep enough, that like I don't know if it'd be company, but something can like sway like public opinion on stuff like that. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure, it all stems, I think, from like admiring like certain people. Like some people don't have a lot of like hair, and maybe people gravitate towards that. Like, oh my gosh, that's what's sexy. Because you think about this time, what was sexy? A little bit thicker ladies, right? Because
Yeah, that's true.
you had a little junk in the trunk, and that was what everybody liked.
Is that coming back?
I think the last I saw, like the big thing now isn't like super skinny, but like fit, like women who like work out. Like I think it's the big thing now. Because it used to be, I think, like the late 90s, wasn't it like just like super skinny, like early 2000s?
Yeah, that's the impression I got. It seemed like especially like in the 90s, it was like, like everybody, like women can't weigh more than like 85 pounds.
Yeah. And like now I think, like to me, I think like, this is probably my opinion, but like the epitome of like super sexual, like attractiveness is like Gal Gadot, like fit Wonder Woman type of woman, like, like a woman that could pick me up and like squat me.
That's a good point. Like it's all, really it's all subjective. Honestly, like hair doesn't bother me at all.
Oh, me either. It's what it is. We've talked about this numerous times. Yeah. Like I know, I feel like we talked, I don't have chest hair, and Tiffany talks about like how gross chest hair is. And I told her, like, you wouldn't want to, like, rub your hand through my sweet chest mane of hair. And she's like, God, no. That'd be disgusting.
I don't have that much either, but I'm glad for that because I feel like since I don't have much chest hair, like I have a little bit, but I feel like since I don't have hardly any there, then that means when I get older, like it won't show up other places.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good point. Like that weird patch that would just show up, like, in the middle of your back. Yeah, not a fan.
No.
But see, I don't know if this is probably just me, but like as I'm getting into my late 30s, like I'm going to be 35 next year, so I'm getting to that peak of the 30s. I'm caring less and less. Like I'm starting to lose my hair, I think, a little bit. Like I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
I see, like I'm getting a very prominent widow's peak. And it doesn't, like, I'm not worried about it, but I still see it. Like I still notice it every morning.
Yeah, it bothered me for like, I was like, because of everything going on.
And I'm older than you.
Yeah, I had to like, because I couldn't get a haircut, Tiff would just shave my head. And it was very like evident there. Like there's like very thin spots.
Yeah.
And that bothered me a little bit. But at this point now, it's just like, if she leaves me because of my balding, is what it is. I'll just go to the clink.
So this is where you're going to learn about another term. So the Winchester geese spread venereal disease. Syphilis in particular was a killer in those days.
Oh, when they developed the cure for that? I mean, when was penicillin made? That was in like the 1800s, right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Oh, so if you got the clap, did you die?
Probably. Well, no. What would happen is you go crazy and then you die. Because that's what syphilis does. That like first thing, like if it's left untreated, like you go, it's almost like rabies. Like you go fucking mental.
Is that the one where like they used to have to like beat people's penises with a hammer to break it up?
Oh God, I don't know.
Somebody had told me. Like,
I remember we talked about this, and then I was like, "Let's not talk about this anymore because it's freaking me out."
Yeah, there was somebody at work that talked about like, getting shot with something down there, like urethra. And I'm like, I'm never having sex again. And then I think like the old ways, like they'd like bang your penis with a hammer to break that up so you could pee.
Oh
yeah, think about that next time you want to go to the clink, Richard.
Well, I think if that's I mean, I'm sorry, Shawn, but I think. In prison, I don't think I'm going to be given the option.
That's true. It's like, wait, what about me? Oh, and here I'm the Winchester geese.
Yeah, you just kind of walk. Like if I ever end up in prison, I'm just going to walk around with condoms, just as a protective measure for myself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just like, please. Just before this goes any farther,
I've got condoms and lube. Just be gentle.
Well, I mean, you don't even have to be gentle. Just just be protected.
I don't want to get.
I feel like that's a small ask. Then they'll say it was consensual,
and you're like,
bastards,
guilty.
In fact, a Saxon graveyard has just been unearthed in Ipswich. And among the 300 skeletons, many had been found bearing clear signs of the disease.
Oh, that's what happens. Infection infects the whole community.
Fucking syphilis. the not so silent killer. Getting a dose of the clap back then in this area, getting a dose of the clap was referred to as being bitten by a Winchester goose.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think that'd be worth it? Like if you lived back in this time and you knew this was a real possibility, because I mean there probably weren't that many like Winchester geese, right? Like you're talking what, 100 maybe?
I don't know. Like you're talking about like this is London. This is like one of the largest cities at the time, one of the largest cities in the world.
Yeah, but like what was the population then? 100,000, 200,000?
I actually don't know. But I mean, I would say that probably sounds about right. I would say somewhere between 200,000 sounds okay to me. Sounds like a decent number.
A 1 in 1,000 shot, you're going to get bitten by the Winchester geese. You're like, I'll go for it.
Oh no, we both way highballed it. In the like roughly 1400s, population was probably like 70,000 people.
Oh wow! So you probably did have only 100 or maybe 200 Winchester geese
get bitten by the Winchester goose.
Yeah, odds are good. Those are not odds in your favor.
The humor, no doubt, intended to detract from the sometimes dire consequences. There was no effective treatment, and death was long and slow, often leading to insanity. And Shawn, here's where the crux of the whole thing comes on. If you got bitten by a Winchester goose, you know what you had? And this isn't a joke. This is what they called it. This isn't a joke, but I'm going to say it. And then you're never going to use this term ever again. Ready? You know, if you got bitten by a Winchester goose, you know what you got? Goosebumps.
Why'd they call it goosebumps? Was this coined by one R.L. Stein?
No, this is not coined by R.L. Stein.
He started going crazy and started writing all these books.
Yes, that's what happened. There was a guy named R.L. Stein. There was a guy who contracted syphilis.
Robert
in his
Stein.
his syphilis infused madness, he wrote a series of books under the pen name R.L. Stein.
Well, I mean,
to young teens in the 90s.
Stephen King used cocaine. R.L. Stein uses syphilis.
R.L. Stein used syphilis. Oh my God, Shawn, we just cracked it.
We did. And he's a time traveler, so he came to the future.
So now, whenever anybody says, oh my God, I've got goosebumps, then your immediate response needs to be, you should get that looked at. It could lead to insanity and death.
Did you get bitten by a Winchester goose?
Ooh, I've got goosebumps. Well, stop sleeping with the horse.
This wouldn't have happened if you weren't part of the Church of England. It's weird, Mom. Every time Shawn catches a chill, he starts talking about whores and religion and the clink. I think something's wrong with him.
Yep. I actually don't know if that's where the term originated, but like you're talking about the Middle Ages and they're calling it goosebumps. So, I mean, for me, it stands to reason. Like in the Middle Ages, if you lived in London, you don't say, "Ooh, I've got goosebumps."
Yeah, especially during prom night.
Because then they're like, "Go see a doctor."
Yeah, it's like, well, guess
on
what?
Prom night,
this clink is closed.
Kick open the prom doors, be like, "I'm a breezy draft because I'm getting some bitches goosebumps tonight." That's horrible.
That is horrible. So they call it goosebumps because does like one of the symptoms of syphilis, is it like chills and stuff, or?
No, but it's bumps. It's actual bumps.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I'm pretty sure that's one of the symptoms.
I'm not Googling.
Don't make me Google symptoms of syphilis. Don't do that to my browser history, you bastard.
Not the first time. The wife is like, Richard, do we need to talk?
No, there was just a very breezy draft.
I've seen you reading that Bible, Richard. What's going on?
In 1161, the bishop, blah, 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 Winchester Goose meant to contract a venereal disease, and goosebumps was the slang for symptoms of venereal disease.
Was that the only deadly one then? Was it syphilis? Or was there other deadly, like, venereal diseases?
I don't know. I actually don't know if there were other... I don't think so, because I think all the other stuff, like back then, like, I think the other stuff, like, was, painful, but it didn't kill you.
Yeah. It was like crabs.
As far as I know, syphilis is the only one that can kill you if left untreated.
We still haven't gotten rid
even
of it.
Today, if it's left untreated, like, you go crazy and die.
Yeah. But at least
there was an episode of House where somebody had it.
Was he from England?
Maybe.
Like Dr. House.
And then House comes in on his cane, and he's like, look for goosebumps. And they're like, this isn't time to read an R.L. Stein book.
It's like, no, check his penis. Have you been to Lot? Have you been bitten by the goose? Have you been to the
clink? You've been bitten by the Winchester Goose. What the fuck does that mean? You're dead. But yeah, that's what happened in the House episode. The dude had syphilis, and it had been left untreated. And at that point, they're like, it's too far gone. There's nothing we can do. You're going to go crazy and die.
Oh, God. He's like, all right, let's have sex. Like, well, no, that's how we got here.
Don't compound the problem, even though you're very attractive. Medieval attitudes to prostitution seem to be mixed. Sex was clearly for procreation, but these fallen ladies seem to have been viewed as a way of preventing good Christian men falling into even worse practices, like masturbation.
Yeah, because isn't there a thing that says it's better for your seed to fall into
something
a whore than
seed on the ground, or that's why I always clean up good.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I always do it
because I'm not an animal.
After I have the candles lit, I have my nice handkerchief.
Is it monogrammed?
It is.
With whose initials?
Yours.
Too much info. I mean, for everybody else, I don't care.
Do you think the reason they're like, yeah, you shouldn't do that, because at that point there was no visual stimulation, so dudes' minds were just going like really weird places? Like, God,
maybe
that cow looks so hot.
Stop staring at. Could you please quit touching yourself and stop staring at the fucking livestock when you do it? It's unseemly.
Look at Betsy, how she eats that grass. And how that bell rings.
Yeah, I want to roll through all three of those stomachs. Nom, nom, nom.
Look at those udders. Oh, babe, it's time for missionary.
Y'all motherfuckers need to go get bitten by a Winchester Goose.
You guys need some of that Jesus at the Church of England. No, it's how we got here.
Yeah. I think we end up here.
First, it's divorcing your wives, and then it's sexualizing cows.
It's a slippery slope. We've all been there. From St. Augustine onwards, there's a tradition of fulminating facts about the evils of sex in quite prurient detail. So prostitution was kind of a safety valve for the wicked desire, and it had the added benefit of filling up the bishop's coffers.
Yeah, I guess if he's getting money for it, it's like, well, I mean, Jesus doesn't mind this.
Yeah, I'm sure he's fine with it.
Yeah, you've heard of Jesus take the wheel. This is Jesus take the wiener.
Yeah. Jesus, don't let me get bitten by the goose.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't play that in there. It's like, oh, that's because you're the sinner type. It's like, well, I mean, it's kind of 1 in 100 shot.
Right? Let's see. The Liberty was part of St. Marguerite's. An act of 1786 established the Clink Paving Commission. Billboards marked Clink 1812 Park, blah, blah. Not much else interesting here. During the period of the Commonwealth, Liberty was sold to a private owner and was it was returned to the bishop in the restoration of 1660. The Clink prison was destroyed in 1780, and the bishop's palace was destroyed in 1814. And in 1863, the rights of the Bishop of Winchester in the Liberty were vested in the ecclesiastical commissioners. So it stayed. So it didn't matter who. It wasn't like. So when I say the Bishop of Winchester, it wasn't like one guy. It was whoever held the title of Bishop of Winchester.
So he wasn't a vampire. He didn't live for 500 years.
Maybe he did.
Was.
Or better yet, like maybe there was like a fight. Like people would fight to be the Bishop of Winchester, and then when you became the bishop, then you inherited all his power.
Yeah.
Like Highlander.
You had to be careful because if that one you killed had penicillin, then you inherited his penicillin.
There can be only one Bishop of Winchester. The Liberty was finally abolished in 1889 when the Local Government Act merged all remaining liberties into their surrounding counties. The Liberty of the Clink had been surrounded by Surrey, but the 1888 Act created a new county of London in the metropolitan area, and the Liberty became part of the new county.
So did prostitution last all the way to 1889?
The Liberty, as they call it, the Liberty of the Clink, lasted all the way until 1889.
Because prostitution, is that illegal in London now, in England, or is it legal?
No, it's not. No, it's not legal.
How do you know?
I don't know. I'm sure I saw a fucking Vice video on YouTube or something that told me. Why is it that all of Vice's videos are about prostitution? Have you noticed that? Or am I just getting like a curated list when I scroll through Facebook?
You're getting a curated list. It's like why all my Yahoo News is like White Sox baseball and Kevin Smith. I always get excited because I'll see a Kevin Smith article. I'm like, oh my God, he's made it to the big time. No, it's just curated to me.
Yeah.
They're like that, and then ads for how to cure your Winchester geese bite.
I knew it. Let's see. There really isn't much else here. It kind of talks about, where the Liberty was and where the Clink was, like geographically, but who the fuck cares about that?
So we learned that Goosebump
when the geese died.
Oh, geez.
Do what?
This got dark quick. No, go ahead.
Oh, when the geese died, they suffered the final indignity of being buried in unconsecrated ground. The Crossbones graveyard in Southwark has been preserved by local residents, and a little memorial was set up to commemorate the Winchester geese.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a D&D campaign.
Yeah.
It's like you have to go into the boneyard of the Winchester geese.
We knew you very well, yet hardly knew you at all.
Yet hardly knew ya. You go into the bones of the Winchester geese, and all you hear is moans and groans.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have on the story of the Clink, the Liberty of the Clink, of the Bishop of Winchester, and the Winchester geese. And now every time you hear, "Ooh, I've got goosebumps," maybe you know where it comes from.
Yep. So next time you're on a date and you're getting intimate and your girl's like, "Oh, you gave me goosebumps." Like, I didn't give you those. I'm clean.
What? See a doctor.
So did they say how they called the prison the Clink, but did they really tell you like why they named it the Clink?
No, actually they didn't say why. They just, the Clink is most famous for its prison. The first recorded use of the term Liberty of the Clink was in 1530. The nickname was used informally to avoid confusion with the other manors in Southwark. Clink seems to be derived from the name of the bishop's prison, which he held as a civil authority, deriving his role as chancellor or treasurer. The bishop's blah, blah, blah. No, it's just what the bishop called it.
Well, in the Church of England, the bishop has the final say on the name of prisons.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he now I'm really curious. I'm like, was this guy, was it Church of England, or was it or was he Catholic?
Yeah, I know. I remember in college I took Western religious traditions, and they talked about kind of like, there's the Catholic religion was the main one. And then like Henry VIII is like, no, I want to make my own religion so I can divorce. And it kind of spun off. And they like took the things they like and the things they didn't like. And then like another religion spawned from that.
Yeah. And now then you have the Anglican Church, which, it's funny because like, okay, so like the Anglican Church, like everybody knows why it was created, but yet it's still around. That's what baffles me.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. It's one of those things like, does it matter the actual like flavor that you're in, or does it just matter that you're there?
Oh, I mean, yes. I mean, in a perfect world, it shouldn't matter unless you're Mormon. Woof. Fucking underwear and golden tablets and shit.
Yep. I know. Was it South
Then they
Park?
make musicals about it.
South Park made like an episode about it, and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. You're like, no. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they did that one in Scientology, and everybody's like, no. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That happened.
I need to research those more. But the bad thing is, like, I'd come back next week. I'm like, Richard, guess what? We're doing an episode on Scientology. And you're like, ha ha ha, I'm ready for this. And then by the end of it, you're like either creeped out or converted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? Spaghetti monster in the sky. I'm for it.
I do believe it's Church of England. So all the jokes we've made throughout this episode, they 100% track. So we're safe.
Perfect. Is Church of England still around, or is it like something else now?
No, it's the Anglican Church. There's one in town.
Oh, okay.
There's one
Church.
where I live.
Gotcha. Do they use the
because
metric
that's why
system?
It's called the Anglican Church. It went from Church of England, now it's the Anglican Church.
I gotcha. Do they use the metric system there?
I don't know. It's a good question. Probably not. I would think not, because it's because there's the metric system, and then there's the imperial system.
Yeah, we're on the imperial system, right?
Yeah, we're on the imperial system.
Okay.
We're all about inches and feet and pounds.
Yeah, but there are stones in England.
Yeah, but stone actually is stone to me is like a slang term for an actual weight. Like I think a stone is
I
like
guess you're right.
40 kilograms or something like that.
Like
or 20
or not pounds, tons. Like it's just another like or yard. Like yard's just a generic.
Yeah, exactly.
Something else, which they all kind of are, really. You walk in, you're like, "Hey, this door looks to be about 3 feet," and they're like, 3.2 meters.
And then you're like, this must be Church of England.
I could go for a cup of coffee. You mean a cup of tea? Ah, damn it.
Earl Grey.
Hey, what's this room? This is the Winchester Geese room.
Stop looking at my wife. Baby, I'm sorry I brought you here. Nobody's getting beheaded, I promise.
But you can't come here anymore. I have to come by myself. I promise I won't get bitten by a Winchester Goose.
Is there a draft?
Ooh, I just got a chill. I have goosebumps. Kill that
I have to go to
the... religion's weird.
You can't come back unless you bring a note that says you're goosebump free.
You have to pass 2 tests in a row in a 48-hour period. Oh, man. But it was my turn.
Have you felt nervous in the last 48 hours?
Have you had weird thoughts? Hey, when you passed a cow, what'd you think? Oh, God.
Has anybody been blowing on the back of your neck?
I've had impure thoughts about cattle. Oh, it's hilarious.
So, yes, I feel... So, I saw this earlier today, and I felt the need to educate you on where to get goosebumps.
I like it. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to figure out where like words come from.
Yes. Especially when they come from stuff like this.
Yeah. That'd be interesting and maybe we need to do a part 2 is like to find like a specific Winchester Goose or something like that and see if there's any cool tales around that area.
I know.
I mean, for
know.
800 years, there's got to be some good tales. Like, not like inappropriate.
I was kind of looking and
like, not like that was back alley Betty, like nothing like that.
Fucking goosebump Gertrude.
I mean, it's totally worth the risk, boys. Am I right? Oh, gross. Yeah, I still find it interesting to think about that time where, like, and maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I feel like there'd be like rampant, like, oh my God, Greg, my neighbor, just got bitten by the Winchester Goose. Your wife is like, what's that mean? He's gonna die.
The site known as the Crossbones. The site you see is what's known as a pauper's burial ground, and before that, an unconsecrated burial ground for the city's sex workers. Medieval prostitution was licensed by the Bishop of Winchester to work within the liberty of the clink. Taxable in life, yet dishonorable in death, the women, known as the Winchester Geese, were forbidden a religious funeral and were buried in this pagan ground where they lay undisturbed.
Damn. At first, she made it sound kind of like romantic a little bit, but it's definitely
no.
Not. They're like, thanks for the money, Goose. Now we're gonna bury you.
Now get in the hole.
It's like, I'm still alive. Whatever, Goose.
The Crossbones was finally closed in 1858, completely overcharged with dead and forgotten about. The Crossbones Cemetery, now a memorial garden, is, according to one caretaker, he calls it a feminine place with a female spirit sitting as it does beneath the great phallus of the shard.
I thought you were either going to say it was like an apartment building now. But you know, the caretaker, like, he goes out there and like he's like, every night at 1 a.m, I just get a raging boner.
On the 23rd of each month, a man named John Constable, who's a druid who lived in the borough for almost 30 years, took charge of the let's see, on the 23rd of each month, he gathers with a group of sometimes 10 up to 40 people to honor the outcast, dead and alive, well kept and ever growing. The garden, on temporary lease for the next 3 years, is a sanctuary, trees play host, and colorful. So now it's like a memorial garden, but it's, you know, on top of the bones of the Winchester Geese.
Yeah. So you walk around with little Timmy, and Timmy's like, "What's this place, Dad?" Like,
ooh, I gotta chill. What? Oh my God, it's contagious in death.
I swear, babe, I didn't go anywhere. Whatever, you cheating bastard. First person to ever get bitten by a Winchester Goose ghost. Ooh, that's a Halloween special. I'll have to write that down for our skit for Halloween.
Yeah. I got bitten by the Winchester Goose. It's so cold in here.
Well, Richard, I always love learning new things. So as we tidy this episode up, what do you have for some Richard's closing thoughts?
Apparently we're fine with prostitutes as long as they pay taxes. And if you ever feel a chill down your spine, go see a doctor and get tested. And what else? Apparently it's good to be the Bishop of Winchester. And
it's good to be bishop.
The Church of England is weird, but not as weird as Mormons. The end.
All right, let me do a little bit of housekeeping while we are getting ready for our reservation at the Winchester of the Geese. Visit our website, we're languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. And if you want to help us out, you can join our Patreon account. It's patreon.com/languageofbromance. We always love to thank our patrons, Wendy and Aaron.
You guys rock.
All right, well, is there anything else before I close her out?
No, I am fantastico.
All right. Well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be Be a why? Be
Be
a why?
Why not?
Oh, geez, it's cold in here.
Oh God, you feeling okay?
I need to send you this link. It's erotic cattle.
I knew it. Dirty link.